Today's video is going to cover converting linear inequalities into slope-intercept form. This is lesson 32. Before we begin, I want to remind you to make sure you're filling in your guided notes, as they will be very helpful on the homework. So here we have example number 1. And the first thing I'm going to do is just overview the problem by reading it and trying to figure out what it's asking me to do. Convert the linear inequality into slope-intercept form. Then it gives us this linear inequality. Fairly straightforward here. It's asking us to convert this inequality right here into slope-intercept form. So what's the model that we're using to do this? The model is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And we've talked about these in different terms. We've talked about slope as rate and y-intercept as the constant, but since we're not trying to solve a real-world problem, we can just refer to them as slope and y-intercept. So the only difference between this model and the model that we're actually going to have to use is, in the end, or to begin with, we're not going to have an equal sign. In fact, we're going to replace the equal sign with an inequality. Because we're not solving an equation, we're solving an inequality, or we're putting this inequality into slope-intercept form. So it's not going to be an equal sign here. So the first thing that we do is we just write the standard form inequality out. And we've solved equations, linear equations, from standard form, and we've converted them into slope-intercept when we had to figure out the graph that matched the equation to begin with. That was one of the ways that we did that. So we're going to do the same exact thing here. The only change again is we're going to replace this equal sign that we normally have with the inequality, and it's right here for us. It was given to us. So we'll just treat this exactly like an equal sign. And then we're going to solve for y. If we want it to be in slope-intercept form, that means we have to have y on one side of the inequality. So that means we have to solve for it. We have to get it isolated using inverse operation. So here I have my the side that y is on. So I've got to eliminate this x term and then this coefficient of -4. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to eliminate the x term. And when you eliminate terms, you're either going to use addition or subtraction depending upon what the term is. So since the term is positive, we're going to eliminate it with subtraction. It's the inverse of addition. So we're going to minus x and we're going to minus x. So here we zero these out. We've eliminated them. We've left with -4y is greater than 8 minus x. These are not like terms. However, when I write it flat, I'm going to make sure that I write my variable term first, just like this. Now we've got to eliminate this coefficient of -4, and that's actually our second step. So we're going to eliminate the coefficient. And these words may seem new to you, but they're words that we've talked about. And when you eliminate a coefficient, what you're going to do is you're going to either use multiplication to eliminate it or division, depending upon what's happening. So since this coefficient is being multiplied, we know that we've got to eliminate it with division. So we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by -4. Okay? And now here's the little third rule. Okay? When you divide, and you can remember this from when we solved inequalities, we have to flip the sign. So when we divide or multiply by a negative number, okay, we've got to flip the sign. So since we divided, we're going to go ahead and flip this sign. So it was pointed this way. Now we're going to point it the other way. So we flipped it. Here we have 1, y, which is just y. And then we can divide this -4 to the -x. Well, -x divided by -4, the values don't simplify, but the signs do. So we have a negative divided by negative is a positive x divided by 4. And we can divide this -4 to the 8. So we've got a positive divided by negative is a negative, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now we've got our inequality in slope-intercept form. We've got the slope, which is technically, if we put a 1 right here, 1 over 4, and our y-intercept is -2. So we can close it out by typing it in. And there's two different ways we can type this in. The first way is y is less than 1x divided by 4 minus 2. And then we learned also that we can type this in as y, and I'm going to write it down below. Without the 1, we don't need to always write 1's in front of x's, so we can just write it as x divided by 4 minus 2. So two different ways to type this in that will give us the right answer. So go ahead and move into example number 2. So here we have example number 2, and it's just like the first one. We're going to convert this inequality that's in standard form. So we're going from standard to slope-intercept. So we know that the first thing we're going to do is just write it out. X minus 5y is less than or equal to -20. And then we're going to just solve for y. So the first thing that we did in the last example is we eliminated, and I'm abbreviating here, the x term. And terms are things that are being added or subtracted. Since this x is positive, it's being added. So we know that we've got to subtract x to both sides to eliminate it here. We're left with -5y is less than or equal to. And then this -20 is a constant, and this is a variable. They're not like terms. However, since this -20 is a constant, we know that it is a y-intercept. So we're going to write it in the back, and then we're going to write the negative x in front, because we know that that's where the mx is. Now we've got to eliminate the number attached to y, which is the coefficient. So we're going to eliminate the coefficient, and we eliminate coefficients by either multiplying or dividing. Since it's being multiplied, we're going to divide by -5 to both sides. And then when we divide by negative, and before I even simplify anything, I'm going to make sure that I flip the sign. So when divide or multiply by negative, flip the sign. So here we have it pointed to the left. Now we're going to point it the other way, and it's an equal to, so we leave it as equal to. Then we can simplify. We know that we have y now. And then what can we simplify here? Well, we have -x divided by -5. Well, x divided by 5 cannot be simplified. However, a negative divided by negative is a positive, so we're going to make that a positive. And then we can simplify the second term as well. -20 divided by -5. We know that a negative divided by negative is a positive, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So here we have our inequality in slope-intercept form, where our m is the number in front of x, which is 1 over 5, and our b is 4. So let's go ahead and type that in. We have y is greater than, and then this is an equal to, so we're going to put equal to x divided by 4x, or 1 over 5x, plus the y-intercept, which is 4. And again, we can write this as y is greater than or equal to 1x divided by 5 plus 4. Two different ways to write this one with the x, and then one without the 1 in front of the x. So this is going to be our last example today, example number 3. And it's just like the first two. So the first thing that we're going to do here is, since we're converting it into slope-intercept form, we're going to write the inequality in standard form. And then we're just going to solve for y. We want to get y by itself. So we're going to eliminate the variable term first. So we're going to -2x. We're going to -2x. This eliminates, so we are left with y is less than. And then we can write the variable term in front, because that's where the mx is. So we've got -2x, and then the 3's are constant, or our y-intercept, so we're going to put that in the back. And then actually, this one was only a one step, because we've got y by itself now. So we've solved this. We know that the slope here is -2, and the y-intercept is 3. So let's just punch that in. Y is less than -2x plus 3. and we're good to go. So hopefully you feel like you are comfortable with these types of questions as you've seen them in a little bit of a different format, but the process is still the same. So don't forget that when you divide or multiply by a negative, that you are flipping the sign. That is really the only change. Good luck on the homework.